So by me seeing those things and hearing those experiences, I learned how I can become the person that was able to express his emotions. So over time, especially growing up as an only child, you're having to try to figure out different ways to make friends. You're trying to find different spaces where you can be you or explore and being you. Because a lot of times, only children can be selfish, and then they also too can be pretty standoffish because they just feel like their experience is a lot different. And so again, just over time, kind of fast forwarding, I would just like be in spaces and just go through things, and I'm like, you know what, this feels uncomfortable, but I gotta be me. I gotta find ways to be able to express who I am. That was again embarrassing times when it came to trying to learn how to get try to get a girl's number when I'm younger, trying to get a woman's number as I got older, like trying to express how I feel. If one of my parents is getting on me, trying to express how I feel in this type of situation. Going through fights, all that type of stuff. Like I learned how to be able to express myself because through all that, I got so many compliments about how people appreciated me for who I was. And then more importantly, I had to learn how to show up for myself in a way where other people weren't at the forefront of deciding on who DeMarcus was. So when it came to sports and things like that, like there was very frustrating times, a lot of times to the points where I could probably even got into a higher level, but I'll block myself because of just how frustrated I was and things at times. But when it came to sports and stuff like that, I made sure at times like I was, outplaying people. When it came to academics and things like that, I had to make sure that I was creating my own narratives because there was a lot of times where I seen people that I was around where a lot of times so many other people were only able to talk about the things from their perspective and they had nothing that they could say because they're letting everybody else talk about whatever. But for me, I'm like, no, I didn't want to be like that. So over time, like I said, with hearing things and all that, I learned how to be able to express my emotions. And it came through like a lot of me saying, you know what, like we got to learn how to be different. If it's the way, there were times for me growing up, especially where people felt, oh, DeMarcus is kind of a perfect kid. He goes to church, he don't smoke, drink, nothing, at the time. So, and even parents, parents come up to my parents and say, man, I wish my kid was like yours. You have an excellent kid. And all those pressures being put onto me is like, dang, this sucks because I just want to feel human. I just want to be a regular kid. And so the thing that I am proud of, I never let that steer me into being rebellious, but it did provide me a space where I could learn how to be me. And even in still learning to be me, like everybody, you're always still learning yourself. But even now, like it gives me a space to be able to say, like, just because I want to try things or just because I may fail at something, that doesn't make it the end all be all. Like me being who I am, that's who I am. And that's why people appreciate me. So over time, I just had to train myself just to be who I am. Again, that was having conversation. There was times where, because of that, I may felt at times when I was younger, oh, they over here doing this and that. I may be in a better space because I'm not doing that. But hey, they could be doing way better academically or whatever. But I had to shift because just because I'm not doing certain things and they don't mean that I'm better than them. There could be a lot of things that they're doing that I need to do to help me get to that next level. So I just realized over time that, I couldn't talk to people in certain ways. I couldn't, make it seem like my point was always right. I had to understand that, as a man, like for me to get to where I want to in life, like I've got to be willing to do certain things. So I'm gonna do this on another episode to talk about like my leveling up as a man because I don't want to get too far sidetracked, which I feel like I already have. But I just had to learn a lot as a man. But for the second topic that I have, or second point, now we're gonna go into the ladies. So for the ladies that say the part about men don't have these emotional spaces or whatever, I really challenge you all. I challenge y'all to take a step back and see what type of men are you around, what type of men may you be attracting, and what type of men are you possibly like getting these perspectives and things from? Because there's a lot of men that don't mind opening up. And what's really funny is a lot of men might feel more comfortable opening up to women than they may men. And again, that can go back to how men are raised. You know, there's a lot of black men that grew up in single parent households with their mother being the primary care person. So they're gonna feel naturally more inclined to have conversations or be in the presence of women. So men don't mind being able to open up. It depends on what woman you are for the man to do that. It depends on what woman you are for the man to want to do that. For me as a guy, I don't mind opening up at all as a man. I don't mind being able to express myself. I don't mind crying. I don't mind being able to share emotions. I don't mind being able to talk about really any aspect of my life. But only certain women have or will get the opportunity to see that. And it's based on how the woman shows up for me. When we have a conversation, how inclined is she to listen? You know, is it something to where the energy is reciprocated? You know, is it something to where like it's not just her trying to gain something? Like you can tell the women that are truly invested in you. And a man that feels that, not only is he able to open up to you, he's willing to show up for you in tons of different ways. Like a lot of times I feel that women have gotten this perception that men aren't willing to open up. But I mean, you see the women that feel very joyous and happy with the men that they have. They love how those men show up. And as a man, you are willing to take yourself to the next level. You are willing to grow and develop, especially with the women that truly supports you and appreciates you for the man that you are. For a lot of women out there, y'all aren't even willing to show up for the type of men that you want. And that goes into my other point here. There can be lots of improvement, but many men are doing the work. And sadly, many men get overlooked because y'all's preferences can turn into possessions that y'all want. Y'all's preferences can get turned into possessions. So what I mean by that is a possession is something that, you know, is money or something that you look at, you know, it could be, look at a possession as fame or status. But some of those preferences are like height. You know, some of those preferences are light skin, dark skin. And that's not saying that men don't do it as well too, but we're not talking about that right now. Because I know somebody's going to say, oh, well, men do it too. See, we got to stop doing that as well too. Even when the men are having a conversation, it's not about going back and forth. But when you addressing a topic, it's okay to be able to talk about one side. If we have another video, talk about the other side, but it's not just getting on one, but this topic is something different. See, a lot of times for the preferences, I don't think there's nothing wrong with anybody having their preference, but you got to be open-minded to say, is this something that somebody can change? And what exactly does this preference do? As a 6'2" man, it's actually truly a turnoff for me when women say, I got to have a man that's over 6 foot, because the only thing that you value to me is that depth of someone's height. Okay, so what if you get that, but then you missing all these other parts about me? Okay, yeah, DeMarcus can cook. Okay, that's cool. Okay, he has these multifacets. He knows how to do all these things around the house. There's other things that I can do as a man. Like some of those things as far as cooking and all that, that's cool. But at the end of the day, that's just an extension of who I am as a person. But what about the times where I worked on my emotional intelligence a lot? What about when it comes to spirituality, all these things that I can't actually show up for? What about the times where if it's crying or being able to create emotional space, like what about these things that other women in my life and women that I've been able to date and things have told me that are great parts about myself? What about those type of things that you could be missing because you worried about the height? What about these other things? You know, what about a man that you could be missing out because, you know, he's not as dark as you want, or he's not as light as you want, or because he may not dress in this particular way? Like, it doesn't make sense. Same thing for the fellas. You know, what about, you know, this woman over here because, you know, she don't come off as aggressive as you want, or, you know, she may not, you know, come off, you know, as promiscuous, you know, outwardly as you want. Like all that type of stuff makes no sense, because as an individual, when you show up for who you truly are, and you can truly be a person that somebody really enjoys, and you can create a safe space and create a energy for an individual, all the things that you wanting and all these things that you are looking to have, I guarantee the person can provide those. I mean, just because I'm 6'2", I mean, what exactly is going to be the biggest difference that a man that's 5'6" can't do? I mean, yeah, there may be things in which I can reach or whatever, but I mean, if a guy got to jump up to get it or whatever, he's got to do that. There's going to be certain things in which I can't reach as a 6'2" man. That don't mean that I'm more tough or more strong than a guy that's 5'6" or a guy that's 5'2". At the end of the day, if a man can show up for you being a man, if he can be emotionally there for you, if he's someone that can truly appreciate you with every version of you, if he's someone that can appreciate you, and a lot of times as men, we love y'all when you don't have the makeups and all the other additions to y'all on. Ain't nothing wrong with us as men saying we like a woman with natural hair and when she ain't got the makeup. We show how much we appreciate y'all in your natural state. You can add the glitz and the glamour. We telling y'all ain't got to have that. And for as men, it's hard for us to sometimes want to be able to express certain things because of the way that y'all might react. We don't mind being able to show up in ways that y'all want, but you have to also realize who you are as an individual for us to be that. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you are a great person. Every woman in the world isn't wife material. Every woman in the world isn't a great person. Every woman in the world isn't well equipped to run a household. Every woman in the world doesn't have emotional intelligence. Every woman in the world isn't lovey-dovey like they try to make it seem. Every man in the world isn't a tough man. Every man in the world isn't confident. Every man in the world ain't getting tons of money. There's so many different things which you can do on both sides. So for ladies, stop having this narrative that all of y'all are super, super dope. And fellas, stop having this narrative that you are the only thing that every woman in the world wants, and she and you know you the only person that she gonna be with for forever, and she would never cheat on you. Whatever. That's crazy. So getting back to the ladies, like, y'all got to be able to realize from a man's perspective that a lot of us are doing the work. And the more that a lot of y'all can stay into these spaces, feeling that you got to have this particular man or whatever, the more y'all going to keep missing out. And it's the truth, because you see to where the women that truly embrace the men that are around them and take the time to actually figure out if they're compatible, to get to know a man, to really dive further into getting to know him outside of sex. You see how happy these women are, and you see how willing these men are, how willing and capable these men are to show up for their women. Men will go head over heels. There's not a thing that a man would do for his woman, especially if she's showing up for him. And he ain't got to be tough all the time, because a real man knows and a real woman knows that he gonna be tough when you need him to be. He ain't always got to show that tough side. So a lot of women, and it's so funny seeing this, will make it seem it's just because they look good, because you've had hundreds of men tell you that you was fine as hell, because you got your butt sticking out, because you got a nice pair of boobs, that you all this and that, and all y'all not. For the guys, just because you got all these women holler at you, that don't mean that you no. So for the women, just because y'all have all these dudes hollering at y'all don't mean a thing. Because at the end of the day, the men that some of y'all want, they not coming after y'all. The men that you really want to be with, the men that you deem as your Prince Charming, that you head over here for, that you would do anything for, they don't want you, because at the end of the day, you're not willing to show up for them in a way to where they can be their best selves. You just worried about your preferences being the possessions. You're worried about what they have and what they can get you in the long term, how much money they can give you. A man being a provider, or this man got to pay out. The women that we appreciate, listen, I could say this for the women in my life, and I want to preface this as well too. Just because you ain't married or quote unquote you ain't been in a relationship, because you don't put your information out there, I should say, because there's people out here that could be in situation, whatever. Everything that's not in the public don't mean it ain't happening. But as a man, I've had a couple of dating experiences where, and I'm not going to go into, like I said, I'm not going to go into my personal stuff, because I don't need people trying to figure out, is he in this? No. I've been able to be in the presence of a couple of women where, and it's been more women that have actually showed up for me in this way, but there's a couple in my mind that have specifically showed up in a particular way. But I've been in the presence of women where it didn't matter about who's paying for what. It didn't matter about how much money was spent. It's because of the energy that I brought as a man, and because the presence that she had as a woman, that made me feel like hey, I don't mind doing whatever, but also too, she ain't putting that pressure on me to feel like I gotta do a specific type of thing. There's been a couple women specifically where going out with them, experiencing life, being able to talk about things, me being able to share my emotions never felt like a chore. Never has. Even to this day, it hasn't, because it's not about who's doing what. It's not about the way I'm able to show up as a man. I'm being able to lead with my presence. I'm being able to show her that she's protected. I've had, not even to brag, but I've had a good amount of women that have told me how comfortable that they feel around me and protected as a man. But it had nothing to do with all the things that I've done. I can count on my hand. I said this in the interview what I did with Miss Cindy. I can count on one hand how many women that I've intentionally cooked for, and it's not five. And I've intentionally went out my way to say I want to cook for you. And when I was younger, there may be a couple times in which I did it because I'm lost in love or whatever. But for me, as a grown man, women that I've intentionally cooked for, there's maybe only a couple women that I've actually done that for. That's because every woman don't deserve that. And if a woman's around me, she get food or whatever, and I'm in a space where I can cook, cool. But like me saying, you know what, I don't mind cooking for you 5 to 6 days out of the week or whatever. There's only a couple that have been able to get that, and that's because of the way they show up for me as a man. There's been times where a woman would literally be like, you know what, DeMarcus, I appreciate you so much. Dinner on me for the day. They'll send me money to get food, or they may pay for a haircut, whatever it is. And for some of y'all out there, for some of the women, that'll sound crazy. Oh my God, girl, I can never do that. That would never be me. It wouldn't be you because it's not you. You don't have what a man would want for you to be able to want to do that. For the fellas, oh man, all these girls, they ain't shit, all these. You feeling like that because you're not showing up as a man for a woman to even want to provide that. So at the end of the day, when we be having these conversations, a lot of times I just sit in the background and look at it as so much ignorance, because there's a good amount of people that be talking about what they should have and what they don't have and this, that, and that experience, because you're not who all that you claim to be. We all working and trying to be better people. Am I saying I'm the most perfect person in the world? Absolutely not. By any means, I'm not. Am I saying that I've always had the best results? No. But I can say that I've had a lot of more positive experiences than negatives. And even the negative experiences, I don't need to hold a grudge with the woman forever because it didn't work out in this or that way. Hey, when I see them, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. But at the end of the day, just because you did me wrong or whatever, that don't mean anything, because I've had too much positivity in my life and I've been able to have some great experiences after that overshadows all of that. So if you're not a woman that's been able to get that from a guy, it may be worth questioning, how are you showing up? Because I know a lot of men out here that are willing to show up in a way that they can appreciate their women, and a lot of men that continue to do the work that's getting overshadowed. So that's just being real. And so, like I said that I can do the part on the men, but sometimes you got to kind of throw that in there because it's not just one sided, it's both ways. But we're talking about the women here. Like a lot of y'all, you can see it on some of these, platforms and stuff like that. The one thing that's really sad to me as a man is that you have some women that are really, really dope. They could be looking the part. They may be in a group. The type of women I like are the ones where they ain't got to be, in front of everybody trying to prove who they are. But some women, they can be the dopest one, the most beautiful one, the most intellectual, the one that the man would wife up tomorrow. But because of the women that you're around, your whole energy and your whole dynamic of who you are goes out the window, because now you're lessening yourself to be on the level of some women that ain't even on your level. They talking about all their bad experiences, all the not shit dudes that they've been with. You only had 1 or 2 guys that was a bad experience, but you don't had 10 dudes that treated you right. But you feeling as if because your experiences are so different, you don't want to talk about it because you don't want your girls to be jealous. Or now you like, oh, okay, girl, I feel you. And so now you molded into attracting men that this woman is attracting, and you attracting emotions that this woman over here is attracting. When you are the outsider, you the one that is really the blueprint for the group. But you don't feel confident in yourself enough, and you don't want to separate yourself. So now you fall on them. when every man in this room wants you. But because you looking at this girl over here, oh, she the one that she got to dress up all the time. She always got to have on makeup. Every single week, she got to make sure her nails, every single day, she got to make sure her nails are done. She can't walk out of the house without makeup. She got to make sure she impresses men. You looking at her because you see all these wolves of men try to come and approach her. You looking at her as, oh, that's the blueprint. Oh, she's getting all these dudes. Do you ever question the quality of dudes that's even trying to holler at her? But because you only got 3 or 4 dudes out of the 2 and 3 parties that y'all went to collectively to come up to you, you feeling out of place because she done had 30 dudes holler at her out of these 2 or 3 parties that you went through. But you done found 3 or 4 that are gentlemen, good looking men, guys that are willing to take you out. Hey, they may not be your fit. You may not connect as much, intellectually, but they give you all these things that qualify what you want in a man. Now you just got to kind of find your fit. But she's running into all these men over here that ain't a fit at all. They only want her for the one thing. They don't even see her. They ain't even willing to get to know. They don't even get to know her name. They just get straight to all this other stuff. But you steadily comparing yourself to her because you looking at the quantity versus the quality that you get. For men, we see that. And for men, for the ones that have been able to have dope experiences, have been able to experience beautiful women and women, when I'm not just talking about the looks, but beautiful women even in their spirit, it's a different feel as a man, and you start to show up differently. You move in a different way. For me as a man, I've been able to have experiences and even date women that are significantly older than me, but have some beautiful experiences because of how I showed up as a man, because also how those women didn't have the ego or didn't let age or whatever it is affect them for showing up for me. And at the end of the day, who you are is going to be a reflection of who you're around. And until you want to change your environment, same thing for the fellas. Until you want to change your environment of the people that you're attracting, ain't nothing going to change. My dad told me that a long time ago. He's like, DeMarcus, wait until you get to a different environment. Wait until you step out of certain areas and environments. You're going to be able to experience different types of women. You're only in a certain small box right now. That's why you're not experiencing different things. He's like, I'm telling you, it's going to change. And I got to give credit to my pops. By him having those conversations and things with me over time, it did change. So what I'm saying is, as men, summarize, we do have conversations. As men, we are willing to be able to talk to the people around us. It may not be in the ways in which you all see, but there's a lot of men having those conversations. Now I tell you, there's a lot of black men and fathers showing up to make sure that their sons are having these conversations. And shout out to my father, because he's a man that, even though there's been like a lot of probably points in his life to where he may not necessarily have had the emotional tweaks, as a man, because of how he's shown up for me, I'm able to take some of those things and mold it into my own form. Now let me take the resources I have nowadays, and now let me share those with him. Hey, my dad may talk this certain way still, whatever. Okay, dad, you know what? I'm going to be a man and be like, hey, that's not cool. That's not cool what you're doing. Now, because I'm a 28-year-old man, he's going to feel me more because he see me as a man grow, and he's going to respect my perspectives. Hey, man, that made me feel a type of way. Don't no parent want to hear that what they've done has made their child feel a type of way. No parent wants to feel as if they abandoned their kids or any real parent. So if I'm able to have a conversation with my father and tell him, hey, man, that's not cool or that's not right or whatever. As a man, it may sting, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be probably the most close-knit person to you physically because you and my mother birthed me. You may have other people that's close, like best friends and all that know more about you because of experiences, but I'm your seed. So you're going to want to naturally feel as if you can do everything to be there for me. And so as a man, I appreciate my father to this day, and even my mother as well, because like I said, hopefully I got to get their okay to talk about certain parts of the conversation. Maybe I'll be able to get them into the video. This is my first time doing a video like this, but maybe I'm able to get them on a podcast and kind of share those things, because the relationships have just become beautiful over the years. And I've been able to get closer to both my parents. And these are parents that came from environments that I didn't get a chance to experience, nor would I want to, because nobody should want to go through that. But I've been able to take the lessons in my own way and get to this level of emotional intelligence. So you just got to be able to really take a step back and hold yourself accountable and say, what exactly am I attracting? What am I doing? And hey, I may get flack on this type of video or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, when you're constantly able to move into a realm where you're able to move in rooms to where you get a type of appreciation, you get a love for being you, and you get way more positivity than you do the negative. Hey, things are working in my favor. And at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to grow and hold myself accountable for the things that I can become better on as an individual. So if you're not doing that, like, I challenge you to do that. I challenge, women to stop having the conversations about, oh, men don't be, talking about emotions. There's no safe spaces. Like, yes, we do. Like, there's a lot of men out here doing it. And maybe it's time for you to find the men that do, don't get caught up on the men that are just like pandering to you all and trying to make it seem as if like this is what men should be doing. No, like, look for men that are open. Look for women that are open. I seen one podcast today I felt was dope. Let me see what her name is. Hold on, let me find this real quick. I've been off the socials. I gotta download Instagram. I'll be logging to it like from time to time. But there was a black woman today, and she was like, yeah, some people probably follow me because some of my information on my podcast had went viral, and they probably think that I'm totally against women and all this. And that's just like, I talk about it from both sides. But what happens is, for men and women, we got to be able to listen to our own genders, because at times we'll listen to the other sides because it seems easier for us to pander or for them to pander to us. But sometimes listen to the people that's in front of you. Ladies, listen to the other woman that's talking, because what usually happens is most of the time those women are getting results that other women aren't. If there's some where it's like, oh, they trying to get money or clout off of on the content now because they used to be terrible, or they still are terrible people, that's a whole different perspective, because again, how the content will continue to come out of their mouths will show up, and also the people around them, they'll be able to specify who these people are. So you got to be able to look far in between, and there's nothing that you should look at to where this is your message. Like, you should be going to God or whatever faith that you have and be able to talk to him in that way, but everything else should just be a reference point. I can watch a podcast all day long. I may not agree with everything, but there can be some really good pointers I can take, but that should not be my main reference to get through in life, or my main point of contact, whatever. I should use all these different parts in life to help me to get to a better me. But ultimately, God's going to be the one that oversees everything. So if I'm utilizing any one point in life way more than him, then in my opinion, if you're someone that's faith driven, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you're not, then you just got to do what you do. But for this podcast, though, what was it called? Hold on. Let me see here. Activity. Okay, her name is on Instagram. It's I am Taylor Chandler, and I've seen a few videos of hers come up, and I'm like, this is the type of content we need. It's a type of real content, and this is just for me seeing a couple of videos. I don't try to get into too much personal stuff, me getting to know about somebody's full background and all this and that. But there are certain conversations that we should have as individuals where we can't be so pressed if people's going to keep it real with us. She was talking about I think it was a conversation about Lizzo and stuff like that. Like, she kept it fairly real. And as men, like, we got to be able to have real conversations as well too. So, this is the life of a multifaceted. This is another episode on my podcast. Like I said, for the multifaceted part, I'd like to talk about different perspectives in life. So when it comes about, like I said, dating, attracting men and women and stuff like that, like, that's not what this is fully about. But I do like to have conversations about the mindset. And this is a mindset convo, because me as a man, I think it's important for me to be able to share things about my perspective and my life journey, and things that are misconceptions, especially when I know myself and people around me are doing the work to become better men. And so in the following episode, what I'll probably do is talk about, like, me molding into a man. What does it look like for the men in my life and men around me, men I've gotten to know, just so y'all can hear a perspective about that, because for some reason there's not conversations supposedly about men doing that. So let's why not create a space, or why not talk about that so there can be awareness raised on the real work that's being done. Every man ain't going through it in the world. Every man's not in a position where he doesn't want to seek therapy. I've been through therapy. I went through career coaching. Both were black women. So there's tons of things like that. But you have to be able to have the conversation, and you have to be able to create a safe space, or create a space where, as a man, I'm willing to talk about it without feeling judged. So again, the same thing could be said on the other side, but the topic was about women having the misconceptions on men. If some of y'all see this, if you get a chance to comment on it, feel free to let me know. Like I said, I'm here for the positive comments, the negative comments. Like, everybody's not going to agree with me, and the point of disagreements is to be able to have good dialogue and be able to create a conversation. But with anything, as black men and women, we should be, or as humans in general, but as black men and women, we should be willing to find ways to have conversations, tough ones, real conversations, and come together. Like, it doesn't make sense for us to always be in a position to where everything's seen as negative. Like, this conversation isn't meant to be a negative one. Like, it's meant to be a real conversation where, if I walk outside, I should still look at black women in a beautiful light. I should want to have conversation. Just because I may walk past one that may give me a side eye or say something bad, that doesn't mean every black woman in the world is bad. Like, I love black women. Like, there's so many black women in my life that I appreciate that show up for me. And there's so many beautiful black women in the world in so many different ways, where, as a man, again, I'd be ignorant and dumb as hell to even put them in a box and feel as if black women aren't the blueprint, or black women aren't well equipped for anything. Like, black women are beautiful. Black women are amazing. So I'll be the last man on this planet to ever make it seem like all black women are no. A couple bad apples don't make it for the rest of the tribe. So it's your boy DeMarcus, man. This is Life of Multifaceted, and I'm out. I'm about to do some real editing on this though.